this is Chodaros, and I have a new tutorial for you that is actually an original design by me, which is so surprising because I don't really play on the extended looms, only tutorials. So I love it. I love it. And I'm not afraid to say that. Got some pretty good feedback on it, so I thought I'd shoot out a tutorial. So this one here was the first one I made, and that's with the burgundy sweets, if that's what the name is, burgundy, but and that's the black sweets and silicone border. So it came out really nice and sturdy. This one came out nice and sturdy as well, but it is made out of the metallics, so it's a little bit more flimsy, meaning, which is a good thing. It's not tight. It's pretty airy, and this border is different than the first one here. So this one has the full single chain in the front, and this one I tried to hide that as much as possible. But the highlight of the bracelet to me is the center. So this is what it looks like with just one color, and then adding two colors for a highlight. Okay, so you will need a 7 pin bar setup. The first two and the last two pin bars are at the same height, one down, and you'll have your middle 3 at the same as well. Okay, so I'm going to go up about 23 pegs. This one was done on one loom, and it is around my wrist, so I'm afraid if I do 2 full looms it might be a little much. So first we need to just add our perimeter. The front perimeter, which is the wrong band, which is traditional. Remember, I always say traditional, meaning when we first started doing these type of designs, this is how you would typically lay everything. Okay, so the outside of the bracelet, the border, it's actually going to be put on with 2 single chains already done. So we have our single chain loomed, and then we put it on link by link by link. Okay, so this needs to be the same amount of chains as pins going up to, in my case, I'm doing 23, so I needed 23 links. But the reason I'm showing you this now is because this is going to be your perimeter. So band color that you're going to use here would more likely be the same color as your single chains are going to be. So just wanted to share that. And I haven't used these bands in so very long. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to slide this down. And we can go ahead and do the end, and let me see here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we count down on these outer pins. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So it would be 4. And these are the higher pegs out here. Okay, so I'm going to put my finger on that. I'm going to put a band there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my loom around. Okay, because whenever we go to loom this, we're going to have these chains on these outer pegs. So we're going to have a band going across like that on both sides. Okay, and then the 2nd and 6th pin bar is where everything gets loomed up. So we need everything to go to this pin here. So I just want to make sure if I'm looking at it this way, I think these two might get switched. So let's try like we normally would. This is going to go there. Nope. How about we do this one first. And then we do this one because we're going to be looming it out to this side and then from this side to this pin. And then this next one doesn't matter because we're looming it from this pin over here. Okay, so we just need to replicate that on this other side. So I think it's safe to say the first one is the diagonal, and then we just add the last and then the center. Oof. Like that. So traditionally we would usually like take it out on the border and whatnot. Okay, so that's the end of that. So we can go ahead and turn it around. And all we're going to do is I'm going to show you the first 2 steps. They're fairly easy, so we can just both start on both of the steps and save a little bit of time and coming back and explaining. Okay, so the next band that we're going to place is going to be the 2 single chains going up the side here. And then after that, we're going to be placing these, the bands right here, minor gray. And then this one here, you can see them a lot better. They're in white. I don't know if it's because it's a contrast color or if it's because I loomed it a little differently. So I'm actually going to use the Sweets or Silk White. And, oh wait, for my single chain, I'm going to use Metallic Gray because I don't really want it to be seen too much. And you want to make sure that these are extremely stretchy, durable bands. So metallics, bands of that nature are going to work the absolute best because we have all of the bands that are going to be looped onto that peg. So we want to make sure it can withstand whenever you go to loom it out. I've already broken 3 bands trying to get mine out because I was using this terrible, it's a Rainbow Loom pink glitter band, but it's from the Learning Center and it is the worst band I've ever bought. I'm so disappointed because they're expensive. Okay, so once we get our single chain all the way up those 2 pin bars, our next step, which this is the one I want to add the white for, is going to be placing a band from there to there, and then this side over as well. So then this step is done the whole way up as well, just like that. So I'm not really interested in adding bling, believe it or not. I think I've taught you guys a good deal that I don't have to do it anymore. No, I'm just teasing. I am more excited to see renditions and bling added and creativity used than to try to like do it all myself, you know. I enjoy looking at everybody's. Okay, so these are the first 2 steps. So let's get those completed all the way up to the end point. And now when we do get up to the end, okay, so our single chain's coming up to the end here. Now this single chain has to go underneath your perimeter band. Okay, so we need to take this off, and we need to take this off, and then we need to place that band, and then we put this band on top, and then this band going over. So we have to do it in that manner because again, this single chain is going to wrap up the whole bracelet. So we'll take this end one off and lift up this one, place that band there, and then add those two back on. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll finish this part up and meet back here for our next step. Okay, so now that we have all of that put on, it is time for us to place our center part. I'm going to be using these, I'm going to call them Egyptian. I think the Egyptians are the ones with, so these are the 300. So we're basically going to do one pattern and then do it again upside down. And so one pattern repeat is 6 pegs right here. Then it starts over and starts over. So you just want to make sure that you pay attention on band placement, because it means the world, obviously, whenever we go to loom it. So I want to start, excuse me, here at this bottom peg, and I want to take it up to the right, come back down to that same peg and go straight, and down to the same peg and go out to the left. Okay? Now, if you want to change colors, like in this one here, what I just placed are the gold bands, and the next ones I'm getting ready to place would be these blue. I'm going to stay with the same color. So you're going to start on this peg here and go up to that center, and that's going to be our focal point. We put another band going straight across, and then we finish up from this peg to the center. So that's it. That's the 6 pegs of pattern. But the only thing different is from here on out, instead of starting out in the center, we're going to start out on the ends. So we're going to go from that bottom right to the center, center forward, and then bottom left to the center. And then we want to do this, we want to make this peg our center. So we want to stay on that one and go up to the right, go straight forward, and then up to the left. Now that is going to be your pattern all the way forward. So we're always going to start on this peg here and go to the center, and then we're always going to have the middle bands placed are always straight, and then ending over here. Okay, so then we go back to the center and go out to the right, straight, and then out to the left. Make sure they're all pushed down. So it's really not that difficult. It was for me, because when I was creating it, it wasn't looming correctly after I made it once and probably didn't take notes properly and whatnot. So remember, we always start on a corner. So we start right up, straight up, left up. What did I just do? Put the same bands down? Did I really? I can't talk when I loom. I can't anymore. I have all that one down. I'm sorry. So there we go, straight up. Then we come to this middle peg. So I think it's basically the same thing, just upside down. And then this one goes out like that. So do one more. Go straight. Oh wow, that's, wow. And then finish up. And then we want to start on this peg here and go out, straight, and then up to the left. Okay, I think you guys will be good. I have all the faith. That's what you should have. It's like a double. So you need to make sure you have stretchy bands, because there's going to be a lot of bands on top of each other. So we're going to do this all the way to the top of where we have our marker for our ending. And then whenever you're finished with that, you want to go ahead and put a cap band on every single peg except the first one, which would be our last down there. Okay? If you're using thick bands like this, Egyptians or Persians, sweets, you can get away with just using a cap band because we don't even really need one, but I'm using it just to make sure it's tighter. I learned that from MS Loom. If you're using, do you see what I did? Oh, I did it right, didn't I? Yeah. Oh, no, I didn't. I cannot talk in Loom. All right, I have that. Then I need this one. And then up here, I'm sorry. Excuse me. If you're using opaque jellies or dual layer, just a thin band, I would suggest putting a triple cap band on your center pegs. So let's go ahead and place this pattern to the end and then go ahead and add our cap bands and we'll meet back down here. Okay, so we are ready to start looming, and this whole center, which in my case is blue, that's what we're going to loom first. So we want to make sure that underneath this first cap band, not the first peg, but the cap band, we have the 3 top bands going out like that. So we need to go inside this cap band, grab the top band, which should be out to the side, bottom right. The next one is always straight. Remember how we laid them? We always put the center one on second. And then the last one should go down to the bottom left. So then we have 3 bands going up. So we go into this first peg here and get that first band, it goes out to the top right, and then the second band goes straight forward, and then this band down here will go out to the top left. Okay, so next we're going to go again. We always start in the cap band. So they get the top one, this goes to the bottom right. The next one in line goes straight down. And then after that will be the bottom left. Okay, so then we need to go into this peg. So we have a lot of bands on top. We want to grab the first one, which should be this one going to the top right. Is that it? Nope, that's a cap band. So it should be this one. And then underneath goes straight forward, and then the last band down there on the peg will go to the left. Okay, so then again we go up to the cap band and loom out the top 3 bands. Then come down back into this peg and loom out the bottom 3 bands. All right, I'll do this maybe one more pattern. that's not the right one. Just turn it to make everything go back into place. So I see it over there. Just doesn't feel right. Like I might have grabbed. That's right. So the last band down there should always be the band that we're looping out. Oops. All right, I'll do one more. Just be careful your cat band doesn't fly off. One more. Okay, so we'll continue that all the way up the loom. Just always remember, we're going to end in this peg, but we're going to begin the next pattern in the cat band. Once you loom out the 3 on top, then we come back down and then loom those 3 out. All right, so let's get that part done and then we'll meet back for the next one. Okay, we have an option with the last pattern. You can either loom it all back to itself, which means the top 3 would go back, and then underneath you would go into this peg, to this one, this, to this, this, to this. Because you have that perimeter back there, it's going to hold all the bands. But if you want this one to look exactly like the rest, then you would simply just take your bands. So I wanted to do that. I would just stick my hook in here and grab all the bands that are on that peg and then just switch these around. So I know there's a lot of loomers that like unison. Okay, so what we need is so this one goes first. I'm trying to think. And then that one, that one. Oh, I lost a band. Oh. Okay, so if you just switch them and then put all of that back on, then you can go ahead, because we had where's my stuff? We had a cat band, or I had told you to put a cat band. I'm sorry, jeez, you guys weren't even in the picture. To have a cat band on the end here. So it's just 2 different ways. It really doesn't matter to me, whichever, but I'd rather show the hardest one. So then you would just loom this out the same as we've been. Why is that band on top? Jeez. There we go. And then the last one goes down here. And then is that the right one? Yep. Then we just loop out our last 3 bands as we normally would. So then that whole section is complete. Okay, so our next step is our last and final step, and it will allow us to loom all of these bands. So the first thing we want to do is loom out this perimeter. So the top one back to itself, and the other side back to itself. Okay, and remember, excuse me, we want all of our bands to end up on this peg here. So you don't have to wait, but I'm going to wait because we need to loom this band over and this band over. And there's two ways that you can loom this out. So this is the original one, and it's just all I did here, which I'm going to do in the tutorial, was I loomed this band over and then this purple band over and went all the way up the loom like that, and then came back and did the single chain all the way up. Or if you prefer this border, which it covers up a little bit more of that chain, I did like a sandwich. I brought over the white band, and then I brought up the border, and then brought over this band, and so forth. So there's just a couple different options. But for the beginning here, we need to take and loom out this band and pull it back to itself. This band will always go in that direction there. And I'll do the same thing on this side. And now we are able to take over our border. That will go there. Twisted bands. Blech. And then we can go ahead and take the band out of this peg and bring it over here as well. Okay? And then we can do it on this side. Now that locks in this whole front here. Okay? So, border. You make your choice on how you'd like to have it. I am just going to do it the original design, which is I'm just going to loom these in and then come back and do the single chain. So I'm just going to go into this one, place it, go into here, and place it, and then do that all the way up the loom. So we don't touch the jump rings, or just the rings, but because they're so small, 6 millimeter, and these are thick bands, they sit in place very nice. If they are larger, I would just suggest making your single chain, either double your single chain or, you know, make them with thicker bands. It will still look nice. But I found these, actually these are, as I mentioned, they're string, so, and they have a hole in them, so they're considered beads, so I probably circle beads, or ring beads, that might be the term. But I got these at Michael's, and they come on a string, and you can actually thread them, but okay, I think you guys are okay to do this, huh? That's it. And then when you're all the way to the top, you come back down, and remember, the single chain has to be the last band on this peg, and you want to be careful when you're looming up the single chain because there's a lot of tension on these pegs, and so you want to make sure that you don't snap any bands. But that's it. Now I'm going to show you the other type of border, and then I'm going to go off camera and undo my loom. But if you wanted to have this kind of a border here, then all you would do is take your diagonal one and pull it down, and then take your border band and pull that up, and then take this band on the left and pull it over. Okay? And then you can go ahead and pull that border up again if you wish, or you can wait until you pull this one over. But it's just pretty much sandwiching the border band, and that way it's kind of hidden more so. I like it better this way. So again, you would just go in and first you grab your diagonal, and then you loom up your border, and last you loom over this. Oh no! Like that. It's not much different, but you can see whenever it's finished, it's a little bit different. So you pick which one you want, and we'll continue on our own until we get to the top of the loom. So remember, you have to take your left band over and then your right band over, and then when you're all finished, loom up your chain. And the end is self-explanatory as far as just looming them to the middle. So we should be able to take this off the loom by ourselves. Just please make sure that you do use caution. There's a lot of tension on these center pegs, and we want to make sure that we take it off maybe peg by peg to minimize any breaking of bands and such. So let's finish that, and then we'll meet back for closing. Boy, oh boy, here is our final result. The lighting isn't as good as I hoped, so it may look a little dull, but I love it. It looks a little different. I don't know what I did different. This you could see more in that one, but I didn't quite untwist every band on that side, but you can tell that's the back. Actually, they're both, I think, identical, to be honest. If you untwist the single chains, I think it's almost identical. But the good thing is that you can move this around and it doesn't affect the other side. So it really doesn't matter what side you wear it on. So, oh man, I love the jump rings too. I don't know if you guys added them or not. So just give it a little pull, stretch it out. And thank you so much. So appreciate you guys joining me making this, and man, that really means the world to me. It really does. So make sure that I'm sure by the time I post it, I have to have a name, but to hashtag it on Instagram under Chodaros_Bling, and I am on Facebook and Twitter, all that fun stuff, Pinterest. Love to see what you guys come up with, especially the bling in color combos. So once again, thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.